Hey everybody, EternallyPrussian here for more of Know Your Allies. This time we're going to be doing Know Your Allies Rhino. These are his level 30 base stats. Unfortunately, I could not get his default look as I put way too much effort into the looks of my Warframes, which is something I like to do, so enjoy this pretty visual. I currently have Rhino equipped with an Ogress, Dual Sestra, and Cindo. The only thing I keep as a consistent loadout with Rhino is the Cindo, because I simply like that it matches how heavy Rhino is and how he's built in general. I don't really have a set primary or secondary, as Rhino is an incredible tank, and he has over 1000 shield with the redirection mod I have put on him. It's not shown here, but he has over 1000 shield and about 800 or so health and a ridiculous amount of armor. So I don't really have a set loadout, I just use him whenever I really need to be a mobile tank. Rhino is exactly as I just described him. Rhino is the mobile tank Warframe.
I may require maintenance after all.
You might. Rhino is the mobile tank. Frost, another Warframe, which will be covered later, is the stand-still tank. Rhino is mobile. Rhino Charge keeps him dashing along the field. Iron Skin is what really brings him into his tank. Roar is what buffs up his allies, and Rhino Stomp is an incredible ultimate, which was originally put into two parts. Radial Blast, like you see the Xmas or the Heavy Gunners use in the Grenier faction, they will knock you down. Rhino used to have that, and then there was Rhino Stomp, but they combined the two and they made it into an absolutely wonderful ultimate. So first, we're going to start with Rhino Charge. Rhino Charge to me is just essentially a much heavier version of Excalibur Slash Dash. I do not know if it goes as far. It looks to be about the same distance, but it seems to deal a bit more damage as Rhino is a heavier Warframe. Up next is Iron Skin. Iron Skin is Rhino's primary tank move. As you saw in that clip there, I was able to absorb a ton of damage with it. It's just an incredible move to have. I set my Rhino to max power efficiency simply so I could have Iron Skin on all the time. For about 12 or 13 energy, I can activate Iron Skin when I am at max efficiency, making it probably one of the best moves I can possibly use. Duration has no effect on it, so there's no real need to worry. All it used to be about duration, but now it's about how much damage you take. There really is nothing more to say other than Iron Skin is what makes Rhino. And he's pretty tanky to begin with, but you pop that on and nothing will touch you. Up next is Roar. Roar is a move I find myself basically never using. It does buff the damage of your allies. It might also buff, I want to check it because I use it that little. It just increases damage for nearby Warframes, and for the 75 energy it costs you, it's really not worth it. You could spend that on an Iron Skin and a Rhino Charge and basically be a bullet shield, which will do a lot more for your team. Sure, the extra DPS can be nice, but honestly, I don't really think Rhino is built for that. I think he is built as basically a bullet catcher. That's what I use Rhino and Frost as. So Roar was to take the place of Radial Blast, which I guess is an alright substitute, but they really up Rhino Stomp, so I think it's an alright trade-off. Up next is his ultimate, Rhino Stomp. Rhino Stomp has to be one of my favorite ultimates in the game. He slams his foot down, and I kid you not, time actually stops and suspends enemies in stasis, knocks them into the air, and does a ton of damage. You would not believe how useful this is in later game missions like Tower 2 and Tower 3. Even Tower 4, you'll find a lot of use for this. Again, with max efficiency, I can cast that for 25 energy, and the time stop stays about the same. So efficiency is a huge thing to build on Rhino. Rhino Stomp is a move that has universal use, is incredibly damaging, and again will suspend your enemies in the air. So for an Ogress, or a Penta, which deals an area of effect damage, Rhino Stomp is a pretty ideal move to use because you can safely get back, you can recover your shield, or you can blast enemies away. You can also melee enemies. Sometimes the enemies are a little bit too high to melee, but most of the time, even when they're suspended in the air, you can still tackle them with Rhino Stomp. That's pretty much it for Rhino. I don't have too much to say. I'm sorry for being brief about Rhino Charge and Roar. It's just, you might as well be looking at my thoughts on Slash Dash if you want Rhino Charge, and I never use Roar pretty much ever. I mean, I've tested them and seen what they've done, and it's honestly nothing too impressive. So I have nothing to say about those two. They're not really moves I consider part of Rhino's set. If Rhino was simply Iron Skin and Rhino Stomp, I think he'd be a perfect Warframe. But the other two abilities, you know, they're situational and have their uses, but I just don't find them all that helpful personally. What to look forward to next? I'm going by my old Know Your Allies tree, so I think that means Saren is next. I really don't remember my list that well. Volt I had to put off for a little while again because I want to look at some more of his stats. I know they've changed a number of things and I want to address those. So that is it from EternallyPrussian.